U.S. Congress are demanding the Federal Reserve opens its books to show where it's spending people's tax dollars. But America's money machine says a transparent policy will destabilize the economy. We can now get more on this live from Washington, D.C. and Ilana Minkovsky, who joins us live. Good evening to you, Ilana. Over to you.
Thanks. Well, yes, the Federal Reserve is one of the most powerful, and many say the most secretive entities in the U.S. And right now, believe it or not, Ben Bernanke, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, is asking for even more power to be granted to it. So Americans are responding with demands for an audit. A poll is showing that 3 out of 4 Americans are asking for one, and currently there is a law trying to be passed in the House of Representatives. It's something that Congressman Ron Paul has long been supporting, and finally he's got all Republican members of the House of Representatives on his side, and more than 100 Democrats. Now, here to discuss this further with me is new congressional candidate from New Mexico, Adam Kokesh. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the Federal Reserve is this secretive entity that I feel like a lot of people probably don't even really understand how it works. Can you give us some of the details?
Well, I got to be honest. I don't even completely understand how it works, and that's why we're so excited to have HR1207 in the House with the kind of support that it has now to get an audit of the Fed. It's up to 282 co-sponsors in the House, and the equivalent bill in the Senate, S604, put up by Senator Bernie Sanders, has about 20 co-sponsors. It's really exciting to see this kind of momentum is building now, finally, after almost 100 years of the Federal Reserve being in control of the money supply in the United States. Now, just to give you a sense of the history and the implication of the Federal Reserve, from 1800, what you could buy for $1 in 1800 would cost you 58 cents in 1913. This is a natural system in a relatively natural economy where it encourages savings and productions. These were great things that contributed to America's economic strength at the time. In 1913, with the passage of the Federal Reserve Act and the institution of the Federal Reserve System, we got away from that, and the Federal Reserve was promised to stabilize the value of the dollar.
How does it do that? I mean,
well,
who
it doesn't. This is the thing.
How is it regulated?
It's done the opposite. It has taken the value of a dollar and lost 95% of it. What you could buy for a dollar in 1913 will cost you $20 today. We assume that inflation now, it's because it's become something that we've all known for our entire lifetimes under a fiat currency system as a given, and it's not. We don't have to have a system that's like this. In fact, our Constitution specifically gives Congress the power to create money and coin money out of gold and silver, have it backed by honest commodities, and therefore not subject to the whims of people that can now create money out of thin air. They're creating money without creating any wealth associated with it. So what they're doing is creating claims to money. And what they're doing is creating ways that they can create power for themselves, power for the people around them, and that power is the ability to manipulate goods and services in the economy.
So what will an audit really do? How can it fix it?
Well, we know by the way that the Federal Reserve is resisting this audit that they're really hiding a lot. And there's a lot of money that has been authorized recently by Congress to the Federal Reserve that we really just have no accountability for. And for those of us who have studied this issue and are looking into it, there's nothing that we're going to be surprised really to see by getting the numbers on the paper, when we get this audit. And it's going to be the General Accounting Office of the Congress, who is an independent organization to be able to audit the Fed and see where all this money is going. But the Federal Reserve has taken on the power to create money that's supposed to be vested in the Congress and is giving it to foreign banks, which is essentially making treaties a power that's supposed to be invested in the executive under the Constitution. So totally unconstitutional. But really the point for me, the thing that makes me so excited, it's got me so passionate about this, is why I'm driven now to the point where I'm ready to run for office, primarily on this issue. I mean, many others. But with 1207, what we're going to be doing is raising the issue in such a way that we're going to pull the curtain back for the American people and force them to see what our currency system is really all about. And when people realize that we have granted this incredible power, to an organization that has no accountability, that is just another government scheme to steal from the poor, to give to the rich, because, as Bernanke himself admitted several months ago, inflation is a tax. Every time they print more money in Washington, the value of the dollars in every American's pocket lose value.
But so how do they stop them from printing more and more money? An audit won't really do this. As you said, it's just going to pull back the curtain.
Exactly.
But then what's the next step?
Well, the next step after the audit is for the American people to demand a honest currency system, to return to the Constitution, so that it's the Congress that has the power to coin money. But then we're going to have essentially free market money, where people are able to create a medium of exchange for themselves. Now, this is really abstract, so you got to step back for a second and think, what is money? Money is nothing more than a medium of exchange, right? You know, gold and silver have historically served us very well because of the inherent properties of these metals, that they have a lot of value, they're compact, they're easy to make into different shapes and sizes, that serve as mediums of exchange whenever we need them, right? What we've done with the fiat currency system is basically given the government the monopoly, or through the Federal Reserve, a monopoly on this particular niche product of a medium of exchange. And the only way it was possible, and when I look back at American history, I find it mind-boggling to think that we allowed gold to be confiscated in this country, that there was a time during the Depression that it was illegal to own over a certain amount of gold, and the government came and confiscated it. I mean, isn't this supposed to be a free country? This is mind-boggling.
That's what they say, yes. Can I ask you now, changing the subject real quickly, speaking of money, you are now running for Congress, and on your pamphlet it says that you won't be accepting the typical salary of a congressman. Can you explain a little bit about that?
I've done the equivalent of taking a political vow of poverty, and on average, congressional members of Congress make about $170,000 a year. As it was a standard salary there. And I've pledged that if elected, I will not accept that salary, but only the national average income. And imagine what a game changer that would be if everybody here that's supposed to be representing us on Capitol Hill was making the average American income. So the way it's actually going to work, because I would never give that money back to the federal government.
Can you let our viewers know?
It's between $40,000 and $50,000. So for coming from an activist, it would still be a significant pay raise for me. But what I intend to do is take the entire paycheck and prorate everyone to the current national average income and donate the balance to a charity that serves the people of my district, and allow them to choose by online poll which charity they want it to go to.
Well, that is very commendable. I hope you'll still be able to afford your suits when you're walking in the halls of Congress. Thank you so much for joining us. Back to you, Moscow, that was Adam Kokesh.
All right, Eileen, thanks very much indeed for bringing us more on the Federal Reserve debate.